Well, that is a question we don't usually answer easily. And I think that in our statement, we put it a little bit differently. And look, our goal is to authenticate the process. If the process is flawed, then the result cannot be legitimate. But the manner in which we couched our 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 conclusion is as follows, and I think I would like to end at this because then you are able to deduce on how we view this election as SADC. We said in our conclusion that in conclusion, the mission observed that the pre-election and voting phases on 23rd, 24th August 2023 harmonized elections were peaceful and calm. However, for reasons outlined above, the mission noted that some aspects of the harmonized elections fell short of the requirements of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, the Electoral Act, and the SADC principles and guidelines governing democratic elections as of 2021. So basically, that is our position at this time. We are now working on our final report that is going to be even more clearer in terms of how we are going to investigate all the other issues that are in this report in our making of the final report.
Masquera saying Zimbabwe, welcome to our channel Zoom Confessions and Deep Secrets. Kana kari kekutanka kukuya paneno channel, please don't forget to subscribe. Kana ujunga wagara subscriber, don't forget to comment and share this video. Nasi Zimbabwe, takugira nyaya buritswa the opposition leader Pashata Chamisa, vabuda vachitaura ivo vachiti Zimbabweans ku South Africa, they should not return home kuya kuzovota pama-national elections. Vataura izvi mushure mekunge Julius Malema vakabuda vachikurudzira maZimbabweans ari muSouth Africa kuti vaende kumusha vanovota. Vachamisa vabuda vachitaura ivo vachiti ma-elections, the electoral process yemuno muZimbabwe haina kumira mushe, so zvanzi it will be a waste of time kuti vanhu vari kuSouth Africa vabve kuSouth Africa vachiuya kuzovota. Zvakonzeresa kuti mapolitical analysts mazhinji ataura achiti Chamisa is slowly quitting politics and is slowly losing hope and is giving up on politics temuno muZimbabwe. Nyaya yaburitswa nePindula vachitaura ivo vachiti in an interview with South African broadcaster News Africa, prominent Zimbabwean opposition leader Nelson Chamisa rejected the call for Zimbabweans living in South Africa to return home to vote in the country's national elections. And Chamisa urged that it is disingenuous to make such a request given the deeply flawed nature of Zimbabwe's electoral process. He claimed that the results of elections are routinely manipulated in the favor of the incumbent government. Chamisa was quoted as saying, just the past year, we have had many Zimbabweans leaving the country, seeking better and greener pastures and better opportunities. To invite people back into hell or to invite them back into this difficult situation, I think is disingenuous. We have to correct the settings. Zimbabweans have a role to play in elections, but the elections are actually not proper elections. So even if Zimbabweans were to come, look at what happened in the past elections. People were in the queues, the ballot papers were not there. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission could not produce ballot papers, and it turned out that Mr. Mnangagwa's friend Wikno Chivayo was actually printing the ballot papers and playing the sabotage. The election was just a shame, so to talk of the elections and Zimbabweans coming to those elections and participating is a bit of a challenge. Vakandra Mbere, the 24-year-old former Citizens Coalition for Change leader, criticized neighboring countries, particularly South Africa, for failing to exert pressure on Zimbabwe's ZANU-PF-led government to implement democratic reforms. The Chamisa was quoted as saying, the key thing is for South African government to help Zimbabweans help themselves. They do so by not expressing solidarity with the dictatorship. They do so by helping Zimbabweans have proper processes and proper elections and resolve their politics. Right now, we have over 100 political activists who are incarcerated. There is no solidarity from the countries that are supposed to help us. Chamisa's criticism follows recent comments made by South African opposition leader Julius Malema, who called for Zimbabweans living in South Africa to return home during elections and vote ZANU-PF out of power. Zobuda zitaurwa The Pindula News mure Zimbabwe. Tinaziva kuti munoona sei nyaya iyi is Chamisa slowly giving up kana kuti tiudze zvamuri kufunga pamusoro penyaya iyi comment section.
Well, I must say that the situation is quite tough for most citizens. If you look at just the past year, we've had a number of Zimbabweans, hundreds of thousands of Zimbabweans leaving the country because they are seeking other better and greener pastures, better opportunities. So to invite people back into hell or to invite people back into this very difficult situation, I think would be disingenuous. We have to correct the settings. Yes, Zimbabweans have a role to play in elections, but the elections are actually not proper elections. So even if Zimbabweans were to come, look at what happened in the past election. People were in the queues. The ballot papers were not there. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission could not produce 5 ballot papers. And it actually turned out that Mr. Mnangagwa's friend, Witness Chivayo, a business person, who has actually printing the ballot paper, is the one who was playing the sabotage. The election was just a sham. So to talk of elections and Zimbabweans coming to those elections and participating is a bit of a challenge. But we have to fix our own issues. Zimbabweans have to fix our own issues. As regards the issue of passport, even here at home, I spoke of the taxes that are too high. Even the passport, I think we are the highest in terms of charges for the passport. Why? Because they realize, the government, that Zimbabweans are leaving the country. So we have to deal with our own issues in a very end. Well, the key thing is for the South African government to help Zimbabweans help themselves. How do they do so? They do so by not expressing solidarity with dictatorship. They do so by helping Zimbabweans have proper processes, proper elections, and of course to resolve their politics. Right now, we have over 100 political activists who are incarcerated, political prisoners. There's no solidarity. There's no support from the countries that are supposed to support us. That solidarity will go a long way, particularly from the South African government, and also calling out what is not proper and making sure that they characterize evil for what it is. They cannot continue this thing of burying their head in the sand. We need to be able to articulate the issues as they are. It's a dictatorship and it must be dealt with. We can't have a black apartheid being endorsed just because by skin color it is the same color. We can't. And we have to be able to stand and be fair, to say enough is enough. Zimbabwe must be fixed. What is broken must be corrected. And that is where we count on the South African brothers and sisters, to help us help ourselves.